Hi, I'm Marie Brennan, and I'm going to be reading the start of one of the stories from my collection, Down a Street That Wasn't There. This is a collection of contemporary and urban fantasy, things set in the modern day of the real world. And though, unfortunately, the stories in general are too long for me to read the entirety, I can give you a little bit of a taster from one of them, called The Last Wendy. The stars winked in conspiratorial excitement as the two travelers flew by, borne on nighttime winds. Far below, the lights of London blazed with the unrelenting life of the city, broken only by the dark ribbon of the Thames. Every year London grew larger, stretching arms of concrete and wire into the green fields that encircled it, but the central areas stayed much the same, held in place by the weight of the past. And the travelers had eyes only for the familiar, disregarding with casual indifference the changes wrought by time. The street slipped by, shadowed and quiet, until a well-known roof came into view. The bay window on the top floor jittered and then swung open, hinges protesting quietly. In blew the evening breeze, carrying a dancing litter of leaves, and with it came two figures. One flitted about, casting an unpredictable light over the room, expressing through movement her irritation with this journey. The other alit on the floor with the fleet and careless grace of the young. Ignoring his companion's vexation, he planted his hands on his hips and looked around. The high vaulted ceiling with its chipped and peeling frieze of vines, the lined expanse of the old wooden floor, the bay window he had come through so many times before. These were sights he took for granted, not so much trusting they would be there as assuming it, never giving the matter any thought at all, for in his mind everything waited on him and did not change when he went away. Of course things had changed more than once, but he forgot those times more swiftly than dawn forgot the night. So he told himself, as he looked about, that there had only ever been the one bed against the left-hand wall, and that the echoing space of the remaining area was quite as it should be. No embers glowed in the dusty fireplace, but, after all, the spring air was warm, and no nightlight broke the darkness, but they always yawned themselves to sleep when he came. On bare and sun-browned feet, he crept over to the bed, a kiss tucked into one hand. He was an imaginative boy, capable of creating feasts upon which he would glut himself, feasts composed of airy nothings finer than any cook's delicacies. By the power of his imagination he shaped the world around him, and so he came to this room entirely confident of finding what he expected. With a chill quite unlike any he had forgotten, he found the bed empty. His companion was still darting around, investigating the half-open drawers of the dresser and the clothes spilling from them, the clutter strewn across the dresser top, the pictures pinned to the walls. "Tink," said the boy, confused, "there's no one here." Her twinkling response was equal parts satisfaction and resentment, for however pleased she was to find their target missing, she did not like coming all this way to find it. He went to the window, questioning for the first time whether he had come to the wrong place. But the window was familiar, and the fireplace behind him, and outside was the street. This house was number 14, and this room its nursery. He turned back, but the bed was still empty. In the light spilling in from the street, he could just make out some things in the room. The covers on the bed were rumpled, as if the occupant had left them for a moment, or as if no one had bothered to make them in the morning. The pictures on the walls were not painted and framed, but rather simple sheets of paper stuck up with tape and small pins, and they showed dark, angry people in dark, angry scenes. The clothes held little color, lit by the hovering, fluttering light of Tink above, but they gleamed with many bits of metal. Nowhere did he see a nightlight, or toys, or any of the things he associated with this place. "Tink," the boy said again, "I don't understand." The fairy might have responded, but they both jerked into wary postures at the sound of a footstep on the stair. No doubt the walker was doing his best to be quiet, but the staircase was very old indeed, and besides, the boy and the fairy spent their days evading Indians and pirates. Tink dove into the dark fabrics of the dresser, and the boy hid behind a stack of boxes in the corner. The nursery door swung open to admit a small, shadowy figure, who slipped through and shut it with stealth and care. At first the only visible detail of the figure was short hair, standing up in stiff little spikes. But as he noticed the window was open and went to shut it, the light from the streets illuminated his face and showed him to be not a boy at all, but a girl. Perhaps this sight caused the boy to twitch behind the boxes. Or perhaps the topmost box decided to help matters along on its own, for it toppled to the floor with an astonishing crash. Boy and girl alike jumped in surprise, but it was the girl who spoke first, staring at the intruder thus revealed. "Who the hell are you?" she demanded. These were not the words he expected of her, though of course he was not crying, and so it would have been odd for her to ask why he was doing so. But he felt a dislocation at her harsh question, crystallizing his heretofore vague sensation that something was badly out of joint. "Hello, Wendy," he said tentatively, trying to put matters back as they should be. "Look, fucker, did you climb in through the window? Because I'm going to call the police. They'll throw you in jail. I'll tell them you came up here to molest me." And then her words cut off, for the boy came forward into the moonlight, and she saw how young he was. "My name is Peter Pan," he said. She stared at him for a long, uncomfortable moment, not saying anything. Then she gave a bark of laughter that didn't sound amused at all. "Pull the other one." He wasn't sure what she meant by that, but took refuge in the manners he had learned from fairy ceremonies. Offering her a grand and courteous bow, he said, "What is your name?" "It sure as hell isn't Wendy," the girl said. "Whoever you're looking for, shithead, she isn't here. Why don't you jump out the window and go find her?" The girl's hand was stuffed into one pocket of her dark, metal-studded clothes, as if she held something tightly in one fist. Peter doubted it was a kiss. She certainly was not Wendy. A part of his mind remembered, in a swift passage that would not allow him to dwell on it, that Wendy had grown up and gotten married and then gone away. But there had been another Wendy, or rather Jane, the daughter of the first Wendy. And then Margaret, who was Jane's daughter, for the girls did not stay in the Neverland, where they would be safe from ever growing up. But they came to the Neverland for spring cleaning every year. Every year that Peter remembered to come for them. "Are you Margaret?" he asked. She did not look much like Margaret, but changes happened, though never to him. "Like I'm going to give you my name! You've got about 5 seconds to leave before I start screaming." Peter came forward a few steps more. "Don't you know me?" he asked, and a plaintive note entered his voice, an injured note. He could imagine many things, but not insignificance. Not for himself. "I've come to take you to the His words dissolved into an outraged howl as the girl brought her hand out of her pocket and sprayed something in his face. The sensation was like nothing Peter had ever felt, not even when a skunk drenched him one time. His eyes watered and burned. This boy, who had fought pirates and Indians and crocodiles without showing a trace of fear, stumbled blind and crying about the room, until the glittering light of Tinker Bell flew to the window and called for him there. Away they flashed, through the air and up into the nighttime sky, leaving the nursery and its occupant behind. So that is the start of The Last Wendy, which is on sale in the Bookview Cafe bookstore in my collection down a street that wasn't there. And as you can tell, it involves Peter Pan encountering a girl in the modern day and discovering that childhood is not what it was in the time of his story. And where that goes, you'll have to get the collection to find out.